Hi Sandeep, welcome back to When Coaching Matters. Thank you for joining us for the third time. For people listening to us on Spotify, you've been joined with Mr. Sandeep Budhiraja, PCC, and a seasoned executive coach. Today we're gonna have a discussion about executive coaching, and so let's start with asking, what do you mean by executive coaching?
Okay. The word itself implies it is meant for senior executive. That is how the original meaning of executive coaching was, traditional meaning. Now, executive coaching has over the last, especially over the last 5 years, has now been used for one-on-one coaching with senior people in the organization, and that could not necessarily be C-level. Okay, so it could go down to the what we typically call as N-1, the people who are at vice president level, strategic business heads, etc. So it includes essentially it is still used to denote coaching service for people who are in executive roles.
Okay. So so my next question is, how do we differentiate it from the other forms of coaching like life coaching, relationship coaching? How executive coaching is different from them?
Okay, so executive coaching is a practice area, which means it is in service of senior executives in organization who are responsible for growth of the company, culture shift, taking strategic decisions, moving forward, personal leadership growth. These are the typical areas which are looking at. When we talk about relationship, life coaching, they are essentially methods of coaching. As we are talking about. So one is a practice area, another is what we call as methods, which could be life coaching is, when you are in present with the person and observing the person, in a certain setting which we are looking at.
Okay. So as a coach, what challenges do you face while executive coaching?
Okay. Pretty much challenges are very similar to any coaching which you're doing, so it's not different from executive to individual coaching for any other people. But however, there are some nuance which is there which we need to acknowledge. One is that you're dealing with people who have arrived in life, they have done, and therefore they may be actually more guarded in their approach with the coach in the beginning itself. Having done said that, their issues tend to be the same. They love to find a way to leave a legacy, which is very important for people who are reaching that level. Then they also basically look at having a wider impact within the organization, outside the organization, and some of them are driven by social impact also. So executive coaching therefore in a sense has a huge impact, and of course not to keep the families of the the clients also, they also are part of that stakeholders in a executive coaching, because some of them are fathers, some of them are mothers, and they have fathers and mothers whom they want to work with or serve with. And often I hear a lot of people saying, I want to do something for their family, and I want to do something for the society, I want to do something for the organization. So the drivers are, while personal performance is important, but drivers go beyond, and the impact also goes beyond the current personal level, individual coaching.
I hear you there. So when you're executive coaching, how do you approach on building a relationship with the client?
That's a good one. So while it remains same, again, like we coach as coach, you are trained to build, we call it cultivating safety and trust. And interestingly, I found through my experience that more vulnerable you are, more simple and direct and humble you are, you cut better ice in executive coaching as compared to, don't try to impress your clients. Go with the mindset that you're there to bless your clients. And that's a big one, because give you an example. So once I was doing a chemistry call with a very senior person in a consulting company out of Hyderabad. And and in chemistry call, you're trying to assess, can we work together kind of a thing. So she asked a question, Sandeep, have you ever coached a woman break a glass ceiling? Forget about the glass ceiling. I didn't even have not coached a woman till that time. So, so I said, really no, I have not done that. And she said, then how will you help me achieve my goal? Fair question. Okay, because I didn't have the knowledge and expertise, which is what her aspiration was. In the spur of the moment, something happened inside my head, and I said, I have never helped a woman break a glass ceiling. However, if you allow me to work with you as a coach, I think that'll be a great experience for me. I promise to give you 110% of what I have as a coach. So she took a small dramatic pause, and after that she said immediately, okay, Sandeep, when do we start? Now, obviously there was something which touched her in the relationship building part. So it was the authenticity and the commitment you show and how you show up as a coach in a chemistry conversation and in real conversation, which actually is more important than who you are as a coach.
Yeah, that was deep. Yep. So my next question is about how do you align the client's personal goals and professional goals?
Okay. That's a question which I get a lot, even when I'm coaching and when I'm training a lot of young new coaches. When I say young new, they are going through the certification process. The short answer is you don't. The long answer is that you allow them to make that connection, because coaching is about dealing with interference, which is preventing people to do what they already know how to do it. And interestingly, it is that interference which is preventing people to do their best in whichever sphere they want trying to do it. And often when you think about that, when people are not getting the performance, in words of great Alan Fine, is that people often don't achieve their goals is not because they don't know how to, okay, because they don't use what they already know. And job of the coach is to reduce that interference so that they can access what they already have. And that's why, coming back to the specific part of it, personal versus professional. So if personal area is blocking their access to perform in the professional area, then you serve the personal area with them so that they can access the professional side, and vice versa. Sometimes they want us to focus on the personal side, okay, because that is preventing them for being their best version. Give you a very interesting example. So I was with a executive coach with a large, head of a state, organization. This person had moved from a culture which was very different, middle of the country to south of the country, and suddenly when we started the coaching relationship, okay, the stakeholder expectation is that the person to be coached on for future leadership readiness around strategic thinking, around leadership, setting the directional agenda, etc., etc. And the person also had signed up on that. However, when we started the relationship, he said, Sandeep, I'm not able to focus on any of that. I said, okay, what's interfering, which is what the job is. And he says, my wife was well settled in the area we were already in. She was running an NGO. She was helping society. She was getting something meaningful. Now all that has got disrupted. We are in a very different. We don't even understand the culture. We don't understand the language. Okay, and sometimes when she goes out for shopping in this part of the country, we are not even allowed to carry our own bags. Okay, so maybe you can guess which state I'm talking about. But point being is that unless we address that, and my daughter, she is again out of sync, she does not have friends, again the same challenge. So we spent about we were contracted for almost 12 conversation over 6 months. We spent I think about 5 to 6 on just addressing the interference which was coming from the personal side, for the person to focus on the professional side. And when that we were able to do that, the person started shining. because in his role there were a lot of politics, there is a lot of you know strings which you have to manage in his role, and he did a fantastic job. So it is the interference which blocks people's ability to access what they already know.
Yep. Yeah, I can see that.
So you allow people to basically find their own connections between personal and professional. However, like we say in coaching, you dance with the client. So this is a great example of how you dance with the client while serving both the agendas. And as a coach, you are custodian for stakeholder expectation and the client expectation while serving the client's agenda.
Okay, that was very insightful, Now I can use that in my coaching practice. So thanks for that. So I want to talk about a situation which I generally have, faced with executive coaching is you've been hired by the organization to coach a certain someone who's your client. The organization is the stakeholder.
Yeah.
And the client is not very happy that you've been hired as a coach for them, and the organization expects you to deliver.
Yep.
Because they're paying for it.
Happens a lot of times.
And the client is not very happy. They don't want to dance with us. They refuse to even take up our offer.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
How do you deal with it?
Yeah, that's at multiple. There are multiple levels at which you deal with it. At the simplest level, that's why we encourage the coaches to talk to the clients, see their readiness to be coached, because you can't force a horse to drink the water, even if you take the horse to the water. Okay, the horse has to make the choice. I'm not saying clients are horses. I'm just using a metaphor to explain. Okay, so the horse has to make a decision to work with you as a client, and to do that, you should be able to call out the disinterest of the client and let them know how this will walk, which direction this will go to. Often people are nudged into a coaching, and not only that, sometimes stakeholders or organizations have their own ulterior agenda, which they will not reveal to the client, but they have it, which could be changing roles, which could be performance gaps, which could be behavioral issues which they want to address, and they put it politely under leadership thing. So in these cases, it's important to bring in authenticity and credibility to the coaching process, and coach should be ready to say no to that relationship if that comes to me. The step one to deal with this, if I would be in such a situation, I would talk to the person and say, I can sense that we are there is something which is not landing well, and explain to the client the fact that this relationship will only work effectively if we are able to be vulnerable, and therefore the coach has to be vulnerable around it, because when you are vulnerable, hopefully the client will become vulnerable. So I was coaching a sales head of a large organization recently. So similar case, the person was nudged into the relationship as part of succession planning. So person couldn't say no because succession planning was linked to that. Yeah. So person showed up and started to impress and talk to me that how great he is and how well he has given the blood and sweat to the organization. Trying to say, thinking with the mindset that maybe the coach will get impressed and say something nice to the managing director who is the sponsor of this coaching. So I heard him out and then I said, okay, I see that you have some apprehensions about this process. So you have to make sure the client feels safe. I reconfirmed the safety, confidentiality around the coaching process. That worked to a level, but it didn't still land. I could sense that I'm not touching the individual even in our second call. So I could see that we were probably talking about many stuff, but the focus was kind of not there, giving a signal to me that client is still not very comfortable talking about aspirations which a person needs to align to. Okay, and then I said, listen, I think we need to understand that I'm really here for you. I am getting signals from you. So when you basically get the signals, mirror it back. This is what I'm receiving, politely, respectfully, without questioning the client intent. And I said, I think you need to think about it, because I will be willing to invest in this relationship if we are both equally committed, because this is about being equal. So nicely, I let the person know that I will be walking out on this, that if push comes to shove. And next time when he came, he was more into it, and I appreciated that commitment. And when he saw that I was appreciating his commitment, I think that's where the change happened. And when I went back to the stakeholders after our coaching, so the same change was getting reflected. Relationship was changing within the, inside the organization, which was the reason why this person was requested to get into a coaching situation.
Yep, that is insightful. Hopefully, we don't see this anymore, and clients are more willing to coach, being coached.
Don't be too sure on that. People will, this is a normal process, and that is why coach training is an important aspect of becoming a coach. That's a difference between a professional coach and, coach.
Got it. So let's move on. And this is something I do face, because when I talk to a lot of L&D and HR, they prefer going and doing a leadership development training rather than doing an executive coaching. So I want to understand if you could just compare executive coaching with leadership development training.
Okay. Sure, we get a lot of that. So let me talk to it a little bit. Uh, in an ideal world, we need to understand that both goal is same. So we're trying to develop the leaders for future, for current roles, and that's the aim for both the interventions. Uh, Training has some limitation. It is difficult to customize it to the individual preferences. It is happening in cohort, so there may be social inhibitions to be the person you want to be in that cohort, and it depends on how committed are you to the learning as a process. And it is also therefore a function of availability of other people, because you can't do training without other people being also available at the same time. So to that extent, those are the limitations of that. Otherwise, I think the efficacy of that depends on the content, the facilitator, and the experience which people have in the process. So those are the dynamics when it comes to leadership development programs. When it comes to coaching, these limitations are automatically addressed, and it also has limitation. Coaches can't teach. Okay, so while they can point towards the sources, which they'll have to do, however, the focus is there on becoming more self-reliant quickly around the areas which you want to develop, and we do that by basically, making it tailor-made for that particular person. So, what is decided by the stakeholders and the client himself or herself? However, it gets tailor-made to the person. It is deep, it is focused, it is faster. That is what I meant by saying, the training is sometimes faster but takes time to reach where you want to do. And coaching is slower on the face of it, but it reaches the destination faster. So here and torta is kind of a story, if it remembers from a traditional method. So we're saying that training fits all. It's a free size shirt, but coaching is a tailored made shirt. Yeah, you could say that. Your size. It is bespoke. It is goes to that person. To the team. Got it. So one more question I have. So when would you recommend executive coaching, and when would you not recommend executive coaching? I think that's a brilliant question. So let's address the not part first, and then it's easy to answer when I would recommend executive coaching. Uh, if person is going through big turmoil in life, personal, professional, that's not a good time to do executive coaching. Okay, Now, this could be, loss of somebody you love, loss of or a major setback in life. That is not a mind frame where executive coaching will go. Uh, Also, executive coaching, if the client is in a substance abuse situation or dependence on some of the other things, that will also not go. Okay. Also, if the client is extremely agitated or upset about life, culture, situations, relationship with board of directors, or something like that, it's not going to work. However, everything else will work. So you're looking at succession planning, you're looking at performance change, you're looking at behavior change, you're looking at competency development, you're looking at preparing the people for future roles, okay, or even self-discovery. Executive coaching is a great answer.
Got it. That was a really good list you've shared. Yeah. So, can you share an experience of how executive coaching in an organization help one of your clients, break through and bring in the results?
Okay, let me share this one. So I was approached by board of directors of a large energy company. So they wanted to, expand the India footprint, and I was asked I was briefed by the stakeholders that we want you to work with our new managing director, who is going to be coming into the India role. This person was coming in from US, okay, and was a US company. And I said, okay, so could you explain the context? Why do you want me to work with this person? Which is a common question which we asked to the stakeholder, and said, Sandeep, the previous two managing director, okay, one resigned and one he had asked to go. And we don't want anything bad to happen to the third one whom we have chosen.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the costs are just too high. And without getting into the reasons why the other two left, they said this person has to land well. So I said, okay, I understand. So because the person, though even though of Indian background, but was a US citizen, was holding the US passport, so he was going to come over as managing director for the country and take over the operation. So in our chemistry call, so once he landed, he settled down. We said, okay, let's meet. We met, and I said, okay, great. So how do you plan to go ahead? What's your idea of the India's strategy? How do you want to land yourself into this role, which is the common get to know each other, decide the agenda conversation. Uh, he said, Sandeep, it's sorted. Now, the word sorted rang a bell in my head. I said, how? He said, so I have the strategy plan. I'm going to share it with my direct reports and tell them very clearly, okay, guys, either you are with me or you are against me.
That's a bold statement. Yeah.
Now I could see, a ship crash and burn, okay, in my head, and I'm handed the strategy or the method which this managing director is about to take, is probably going to lead to the outcomes which the board of directors didn't want. So as a custodian, I said, okay, so let's talk about your strategy a little bit more. And we use a method called as exploring natural consequences. So we started talking about what are the natural consequences of this approach, what are the pros, cons, and all that stuff. And then we ended with saying, how will this make you look like as the leader? As the new leader of this enterprise, how do you want to be seen as, how do you want to be talked about over the water cooler? And do you care about it? So when we went that direction, the person realized that probably is not a great way. And then we opened it up by saying, what is the other way to approach it? He started thinking about it, gave him some templates also to work with, and that's what this story had a very happy ending. We're still in touch as a client, okay, and so I could see something which could have potentially be, third time wrong for the organization and first time wrong for the new managing director. I think this is what you do in executive coaching. So I was happy and proud that probably in some way I not only helped him, okay, probably also the organization. So still have a very good rapport like that.
I'm glad. That was a powerful story. I could, use some questions. I'm gonna note them down. So let's talk about the emerging trends in executive coaching.
Okay. So interestingly, emerging trends when we talk about executive coaching is that it is become more popular. First of all, okay. So it is being seen very positively. I'm talking about this part of the world.
Yeah.
In US and Western world, the executive coaching was there for 8 years. It's been considered as a primary tool. So hardly you will see a CEO or a C-level person not having an executive coach. So it is considered absolutely fundamental to executive development. And now we are catching up in this part of the world. So that is the shift we are seeing. Executive coaching had a negative connotation for some time earlier on, but now that has become positive. So that is a big change. And also, executive coaching, we see more and more it's trickling down. So it is not meant only for the people with C-level titles. It is now going down to business unit heads, strategy heads, vice presidents, and business heads in general. So that's another big one. What does that mean? It has expanded the market. Executive coaching is the highest paid application area for coaches, and therefore it does require either no hair like me or some white hairs like my mustache. But there is a credibility which is needed to be an executive coach and to be being there. So that has expanded. Fourth element is that there are new tools which are now available, which can range from psychometry to AI coaches, okay, which can basically enable your executive coaching much more better. And recently, I also got certified on a tool called SDI or Strength Development Inventory 2.0 from digital learning. Also, and it's a good inventory when I used it with a couple of my clients. Also, I noticed tools like PMC, which is personalized management coaching, which is a 180-degree tool, allows people to get a very clear view of their leadership capacities, which works very well. Then also, I've started deploying AI coach in between my sessions. So when you deploy artificial intelligence coaches, senior people can be lonely at their top. So it gives them something to talk to. I was talking to a senior person from a large bank, pretty large bank, day before yesterday. It was a Saturday, and he said, "Sandeep, this is such a nice tool which is available in my pocket. So when I'm feeling a dilemma or a challenge, I just bring out my phone and talk to it." Of course, he said the UI could have been slightly better, which is fine. Okay, but he said, "I love this tool because I know I'm not being judged and I can still do my thinking using this particular tool." So it kind of, these are some of the new tools which are available in executive coaching.
Wow, that's great. So when we talk about AI coach coming in, how do you see the role of executive coaches being changed?
They'll be able to create a much better client experience because coaching is a series of guided conversations.
Yeah.
There is typically a gap of 7 to 15 days between each conversation, and when there are basically these gaps, uh, unless the client reaches out back to the coach, there is a vacuum which can be there. Though it's not, it's the client has to work on some actions, or and therefore this fills in that brings in that continuity, and which can improve execution because it's only through the actions where the results come in, and also build a positive accountability, and also gets to the client gets to work with things which he or she may not be very comfortable talking about the coach. While it should not happen, that's what the tool can do, because that's what it can do sometimes when the coach don't have that kind of rapport.
Yeah, I see the use case of the aicoach. So thank you for having this conversation with us, and we will see you again
One day. Thank you.